It was truly one of the worst political scandals this country has ever seen, that the previous administration covered up the decline in the former president's mental and physical ability, and it's now all coming out.
A growing push for answers on former President Biden's health while in office. Republicans say there was a cover-up, and now they're seeking interviews with some top Biden staffers. Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway here with us now. Kellyanne, we're seeing that there's a list of people close to the former president that they want to talk to on the Oversight Committee. Dr. Kevin O'Connor, Neera Tanden, former aides Anthony Bernal, Annie Tomasini, and Ashley Williams. But my question for you is, do you think that any of these people are going to give the American people the answers that they're looking for? And the reason I question that is because this is, again, the same administration that insisted that the border was secure, inflation was transitory, Afghanistan was a success, mass releases weren't happening. I mean, what can people really expect out of this?
The difference, Jackie, thanks for having me this morning, will be under oath, and they have to tell the truth. None of the cabinet secretaries who came on TV routinely to lie to us about the security of the border or the sanctity of our streets or the inflation being, quote, transitory, Janet Yellen, gaslighting us, they'll all be under oath. And now we have evidence by way of a book. We have cabinet officials, we have senior aides being given anonymity in exchange for this kind of information. Jackie, I think what's going on here is it wasn't a senior moment here or a senior moment there. It was an entire senior moment presidency. And that's really the issue. 1 year after they kicked Biden off the ticket and swapped him out for Kamala Harris, we're still talking about his mental acuity, his agility, and his ability to do the job. So they've created a larger problem than had they stopped him from running for election in the first place or re-election in the second place.
I guess I have a different view of this issue, too, because I've been saying for a couple of years now that, this was a coalition presidency in so many ways. You had the Democratic Party stack their chips behind Biden not because they wanted him necessarily, but he was the best chance at beating Donald Trump. And so there were so many factions that felt like they owned a slice of that administration. And therefore, it was a group of people around every table making the decision and not just him. Does it strike you in any way that these people who are now willing to talk anonymously or maybe not are just trying to sort of save their skins and mitigate the anger from their own party toward them for botching these policies and for losing so badly? And blame it on Biden.
If that is their goal, Jackie, Yes, if that is their goal, Jackie, they're failing miserably in accomplishing it. And the reason is that we are still talking about Joe Biden. They're trying to move on to 2026 midterms, to 2028. They don't run this town or the party out of power. And yet we're still talking about the Joe Biden they kicked off the ticket a year ago. I'm not about to let any of these people clean their consciences through a book and through, particularly for Jake Tapper, to write a book, who was nothing but awful to all of us. And there were congressional committees where some of us were hauled to testify, where we were put on the spot, that had absolutely nothing to do with the severity of the competency of the presidency. And Jackie, this is simple. We don't have a coalition government in this country. We have a constitutional republic. We democratically elect our presidents. They are commanders in chief. They're constitutionally very powerful position. Other countries have coalition governments, fine. Here, we were never in doubt, and we're not in doubt again as to who's in charge when Donald Trump is president. And if we still have that open question, who was in charge? Who was running the show? Who was making the decisions? This is not the past. This is very much important because how do the service member, the 13 service members' families feel? Right. How do the victims of illegal immigrant crime feel, where we're yet to hear them even say the names that have been repeated on this network? So we all know what we saw, we all know what we heard, and the people closest to him have some reckoning to do. And I think that we can start with those 5 people, put them under oath, see what they have to say.
All right, Kellyanne Conway, we will be watching that closely. Appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.